So where I want to get started with the wrestling news tonight is, I watched Dynamite this morning. I was able to finish it this morning. Caught a little bit last night, and then I got up early this morning and finished it. Man, I thought it was a much better show than I've seen probably the last month.
Oh yeah,
Like I
easily.
know, I know, I know. A few weeks ago, whenever they had that gauntlet match, that was probably the best match I had seen on television in years. But I felt like the overall show wasn't that great. But that match specifically was pretty
Agreed.
awesome. I thought last night, aside from a couple of segments that were pretty cringe, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a hell of a show. I really liked the segment between Will Ospreay and between Will Ospreay and Swerve. Sorry, my my light decided to fall. Will Ospreay and Swerve. I thought that was fantastic. Just a really fun show, man. AEW needed a week like this, and I think they got it.
No, I agree. I think it's the best Dynamite they've had in months, like top to bottom. It wasn't perfect by 2024 standards. One of the better Dynamites of the year, to be quite
Yeah,
frank. Yeah, DJ
yeah.
Convoy is his best one in ages. I agree. And we have a group there with Muse, and I was texting during the group during the Osprey Swerve segment. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Osprey's promo here is just
Dude.
unreal. And then
Yeah.
Swerve just like, I know our boss Joe Lanza in his review said is the best Swerve promo ever. I can't argue
I,
with that one
I
bit.
don't disagree with that because I've been watching Swerve since he was on Lucha Underground and MLW, and
Same.
I've never seen him that good before. And I've been a big fan of his for years, but that was the best promo I've ever seen him do. Absolutely.
Dude, the line of the night was while you were in hit row, I had a hit list. I was like, no, that's why wrestling. Now that's what. And again,
Yeah.
I got between that and the MJF Roosh match, which some people didn't love it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I love the intensity of those two. Like both those guys are so freaking intense that I want more of it. And based on the fact that we saw the aforementioned Don Callis with Roosh later in the show, leads me to believe they're going to keep doing some of them. Man, I loved it. I was like, this is what I want from wrestling. Like this felt like the more we can lean away from, and again, they lean too into WWE at points, but the more they can lean away from it and do their own thing, the better off they are just constantly. Like that promo segment, it was just two dudes talking. And I feel like there's real stakes now. And Swerve, I know Swerve's a babyface now, but he's so good at being a prick. You know?
Yeah.
He's just so good at like, oh, say hi to Harry for me. Like that's his kid, man. Oh, vicious.
Well, that is very much like gamesmanship, like a guy just trying to one up his opponent and get into his head. I don't even see that as being like a heel move. That is just like you would see that in MMA. Like that's like a boxing thing to do, just to get into your opponent's head a little bit. And that's what like now the match has a big fight feel. When I did not feel like it did before. No, that doesn't mean I wasn't interested in it. I was, but it's like, babyface match. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, two guys going out there kicking out of shit. Should be fun, but who really cares? Now I care because there's a little bit of a personal issue. I found it to be refreshing. This is exactly what I want pro wrestling to be when I envision it. It's two bad motherfuckers that don't like each other, and they're fighting for a cause, and that cause is the World Heavyweight Championship. And now you added the added stipulation that now Will Ospreay wants to take that belt into Wembley as the World Heavyweight Champion. Now you got a second cause on top of that. I found it to be beautiful.
We talk about story in wrestling a lot. I go off on this, right? What is a story? People go, they don't tell stories. I don't tell stories. A story is you have a character, a protagonist who has a goal. Something is standing in the way of his goal. That is the story, the journey toward the goal. And we have that. We have two protagonists. Will Ospreay wants to be the champion going into his home country. Swerve wants to prove that he is not a fluke and he is the champion. Boom, you've got these two trains colliding into each other. And now you have the basis for what can be a really good story. Now everything that happens in there is the beats, right? The story beats is where things get strong, where they fall apart, right? It's all about the beats on the way, but the story itself is there. The nuts and bolts are there. And what I love is we didn't need the mystical murder rabbit to get us there.
Yeah, and with WWE kind of going hard into the other direction, which we thought for a long time they're getting away from, now they've just steered back into it with the Wyatt Six. And look, if you're a Wyatt Six fan, like, have fun, right? enjoy it. What I like is what Will Ospreay and Swerve did. What I like is MJF versus Roosh. If you like, what Bo Dallas and those cats were doing, hey, more power to you. Enjoy yourself. I just not exactly for me. I don't completely hate it. Like I like some hokey shit in wrestling sometimes. If it makes me laugh, I'm good with it. If I don't have to take it, if you're making me take it seriously, not really my cup of tea. But they need to completely steer totally away from it. And I felt like they did that with that segment. But Dan Goucher has a good comment in here, and I think is actually he's right. So the contract signing. So he's talking about Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm was every WWE contract. Well, it's been every contract signing in pro wrestling for 50 years. The WWE didn't start it; they just kind of popularized it. I'll be honest, I lasted about 3 minutes of that contract signing and I just fast forwarded because I was watching on delay. So, but people like that, go for it.
I'm a Mina Shirakawa fan, sir, so I was watching that segment. Okay, so when it comes to the contract, I think that I don't hate the idea of a contract signing. I think that can be cool. I like the idea behind it. I just think they need to do it differently. Like what I would like to see is I like to see a contract signing done maybe at event, maybe like in the city where it's going to be. Give me some live shots there. Have them fight like on a dais, right? In front of like at a press conference. Do something at a like have it signed at like a baseball game or something like that. Do it like take it out of the ring. Do something different with it. Right? Make it interesting. Just don't. I mean, we got Peppermint in there, so she's going to lean into everything Vince taught her. Right. And we got Jimmy Jacobs there. He's going to do things that are just stupid because he has no real vision.
RD Evans is now there.
RD Evans is now there. Like you've got guys who aren't original thinkers. So, I mean, the more you can challenge people by having original thinkers in there, I didn't hate the concept. I don't hate the concept of the contract signing on its own. What I hate is that it's so tropey. Right. Yeah. And I think you have to challenge tropes. I think at some point someone has to say, is this different? And then go off and and if the answer is no, then really think about whether or not you need that segment, right? Could they have done that segment differently? Yes. Could they have, if they'd have done it on the stage as opposed to in the ring, it would have been different in of itself. I think you can do these things. You just have to challenge yourself and do them in a different place and do them where someone doesn't go through the table, right? Yes. How many times do we see a contract signing where someone goes through a table? Every fucking time. Challenge yourself, man. Be different. So as good a Dynamite as this was, we still lean too heavy into tropiness, right? Challenge trope. I'll tell you something. This is a take I haven't seen anywhere. This is my take. One thing that I have always hated in wrestling is the invisible cameraman, right? Where you have two dudes that are having a conversation and there just happens to be a cameraman there. Yeah. TNA always motivated it by having like the spy cameraman, like they shot it like reality TV. Where like the cameraman's kind of like spying on
one of Bischoff's only good ideas in TNA. By the way,
I agree that Eric's stupid. He doesn't have all bad ideas, but TNA still does that. At least they were doing last time I watched TNA. Yeah, but they still have that. So, but WWE always has the mysterious floating camera guy who we have to pretend isn't there. Samoa Joe and Hook had a similar segment where they were going to see the premier athletes. I can't remember what Mark Sterling's crew is called, and it was very much that segment until you realized Shibata was working the camera. Yeah. And then I went, oh shit, we spun the trope. Yeah. We challenged the trope. We had it. It was a very tropey segment until it wasn't. Just by hearing, you don't have to see Shibata. They've motivated that voice, right? That Siri voice is him. That's how Shibata cuts promos. So just hearing that, even if he wasn't in the building, they have told you as a viewer that Shibata was the cameraman. Now we've taken a WWE segment, challenged it, and done something new with it. That was actually one of my favorite segments because it was different.
What are the chances that Shibata wasn't even there?
50-50.
Yeah. Like I think it's a real possibility that he just wasn't there, but that was their way of including him into the segment, even though he wasn't there. Did they tape Collision tonight? Did I see that?
So. I think.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe he just wasn't in town yet, or maybe he was on to the next town, but I think they're doing that match they did that match to the tapings tonight, I think.
If all you're going to do is have his voice, you don't have to fly him in. Save yourself $100 on a plane ticket and let Shibata hang out with his family at home. And again, they motivated it. They motivated the invisible cameraman. I can't tell you how much I appreciated a little thing like that. Like I have a hunch that was Will Washington because that had outsider thinking written all over it. And one of my favorite things on the show last night.